Hello and welcome back to the Hawks podcast, where you'll see one exciting team this year in the Seattle Seahawks, and one team full of sorrow, depression, injury, and all the other things in the Vikings.
It's a
Don't you
Shakespearean
just love
drama.
preseason? What was that?
Tyler, it's what we call a Shakespearean drama.
That's pretty much what our team has become. Yeah.
Star-crossed lovers.
Okay.
Well, awards time. Let's go.
Exactly. All right, you can start.
Okay, offensive rookie of the year. With me having the Bears at 11-6 and their defense being trash, it's going to have to be from their offense. Um, Usually we don't really see, well, I guess, was it CJ Stroud last year for ORY?
I think so, yeah. And Herbert
Okay,
was
well, I'm
for
going for
his
Caleb
rookie year.
Williams. So
Wow, what a shocker. Nah, I'm kidding. That's probably the leading pick. I went with Marvin Harrison Jr.
that's fair. Um, well, yeah, defensive rookie of the year. I'm going with Dallas Turner. I looked at the other defensive players. It's going to be hard for Brian Murphy to get it just because the position he plays and there's a lot of defensive pieces on Seattle where he's probably going to be overlooked, and I think they have him projected as a bench player to start out just as he's developing. Um, so really the only one I see other than maybe um, the Eagles cornerback, Dallas Turner probably has the best chance just because there was not that many defensive players picked in the first round.
Yep. Well, I hope you're right. I went with Laiatu Latu simply because I don't want to go with any Vikings players
That's fair.
because I don't want to jinx anything. So he was picked right before or two clicks before rather for first defensive player taken off the board. I actually was liking looking at him for draft for mock drafts for 23 when we still had that pick because Dallas Turner was projected to go first and they were projected to go other positions. So I thought he was going to fall. So when they took Latu, I was shocked to see his name come off before Dallas Turner's. And then you guys picked your defensive tackle. And I was like, that's shocking. So then we traded up and got Dallas Turner. And I was like, wow, cool.
You don't have to
But
remind me.
but I did like Latu out of the draft. I thought that's who we were going to end up getting or trading up for. So I think on the Colts, that'll be because I think the Colts are going to be a good team this year. I think he'll have a breakout season and help um that team come to fruition and really get after the passer. So we'll see what happens.
Well, speaking of the first round, I'll let you go first.
The bust of the first round for me is Drake May. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be because he probably won't see the field, but it might be because of the fact that he needed to see the field and he's not going to because he hasn't looked good. The offensive line isn't good enough for him. And I think that the Patriots have kind of just decided, like, all right, well, you're probably not going to get to play. Or if you do, it's going to be after Joe Milton gets a shot. And obviously, Brissett's going to have something happen to him or they decide they need to have something else happen. So, other than that, I couldn't really think of anybody too much because like you can't call JJ McCarthy a bust because he just got injured, so it's not like the same thing. And Michael Penix was drafted to be quote unquote the future, so I don't think you can really call him a bust either. So and it's hard to call an offensive lineman a bust before you see them playing any games. So um, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, I had to move some things before I could do this, but my reaction when you said Drake May was I don't know if you could hear that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had Drake May too. Just like you said, we're not. This is specifically going to be about this year, so players that aren't playing or that get injured, like JJ McCarthy, we can't really call them a bust
Yep.
yet. Now, if injuries continue, that's a whole nother discussion. But for going into the end of this year and seeing where those first rounders are at, Penix probably won't see the field unless something drastic happens in Atlanta. JJ McCarthy, obviously, we won't see him on the field this year. Hopefully, he gets better, and we'll see him week one next year. Caleb Williams, I feel like he has enough weapons around him to support him, unlike Justin Fields and every other Bears quarterback ever. Um, if Caleb Williams is a bust, we will know because there's no excuses. But
Yep.
he's looked good in preseason. So moving off of that, um, a lot
You've
of other
got
guys is hard to judge just because none of them are clear. Like no, there wasn't really any big reaches other than maybe you could say Bo Nix and some of the other quarterbacks, just because all of the quarterbacks coming off the board, teams got desperate.
yep.
Um, as
With
an
that,
NC
we can move
State
to the next.
college football fan, I've seen Drake May struggle at the end of seasons, especially against a good defense in NC State, where he's been challenged both times he's played and went 0 for 2, and especially in the end. He was always good at the beginning of the seasons. Now you could say it was the team falling apart, injuries, his play, whole combination, the coaching. But as the year went on, UNC always got worse. It would always end the year on a slide. Um, so I could see that happening again, especially if it was Drake May, just can't last for a whole season. Um, and usually we've never had this many quarterbacks before, but usually all one or two, or maybe even three or four of the top guys in for quarterbacks in a draft don't pan out. And I feel like out of all of them, he's the one that won't, just because he
Yep.
doesn't have that much talent to develop into. Like Jaden Daniels, we both agree is probably one of the more talented QBs in the draft. It just needs to be
Absolutely.
refined. Caleb Williams is also up there, just needs to be refined. Bo Nix is kind of one of those guys. Is there some talent there, or was it just the system? JJ McCarthy, we'll see next year. We'll leave that till then. So out of them, I see Drake May being the biggest bust.
An agreement on one player. Love it. All right. I'm gonna be honest. Surprise of latter rounds. I don't want to take Vikings into it, and I really haven't been digging too deep, but I did find one guy who I think will have a better season than most people would expect him to. And it's ironically going to be of a team that we predicted is going to suck. Troy Franklin picked round 4 by the Broncos. And this is purely because he's currently wide receiver like 3 or 4 on the depth chart, I think. Something like that. He's been doing well in preseason, and because the Broncos are likely going to be throwing a lot because they'll be behind in games, coverage is going to slide over to Cortland Sutton, and I think that's going to open up a lot of passes for Troy Franklin. Plus, I believe Bo Nix has had a good relationship with him so far, so that should develop into the games.
This might be some home fan type of bias, but I really liked Peyton Wilson coming out of college. He's a bit of a smaller guy and he's had some injury history, but he's a speedy guy. He hunts for the football. Um, Anywhere, any game last year when he was fully healthy, which he was for the whole season, he was making plays everywhere. If a play was made, it's probably Peyton Wilson. He was one of the top linebackers in the country. I think he won the top linebacker award. Um, so I feel like he'll shock some people. Now, the question is how much playing time he'll get because you have Patrick Queen, I believe, as the starter. So he's probably going to be fighting for playing time, but I feel like he's going to be a shocker for those who haven't seen Peyton Wilson yet.
So I didn't know we could pick second round draft pick. I thought it meant like 4 through 7.
No, I was just
Um,
meaning second and on.
Gotcha. In that case, I'll change it to Cooper DeJean on the Eagles. He just made his first appearance against us in the preseason game because he's been dealing with some stuff first and second games. He already made some plays and broke up 2 touchdown passes, so I think that he will be making some great plays on defense, and he'll likely be a starter for the Eagles in the secondary, whether it's at safety or at cornerback. So I do believe that was a great pick there, and the Eagles were very happy to get him in the second round. But moving on, offensive player of the year. I'm gonna go with what could be a surprising pick. I'm gonna go with Amon-Ra St. Brown because
Hmm.
last season he tacked up, I think it was 1,400 yards and a crap ton of touchdowns, and he did it all with what should have been a season-ending injury or at least like 6-week injury. He played through it, and he just always seems to be that guy who's willing to do whatever you need to get the yardage, and he's going to tough out whatever it is. And I think the Lions are that team that's just getting better and better and better. And I think that Amon-Ra, now that he's even healthier than he was, i.e., not being injured, I mean, we might see him really pop off this year.
This is hard for me just because it feels like it changes every year because there's always somebody that's popping out. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill just because it feels like it's going to be one of those years that I feel like there's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder at this point with everything that's been going on. And I feel like he's going to be ready to go. Um,
I mean, he was voted the best player in the league.
yeah, there might be a bit of an obvious pick, but
I think it is currently number 1 for Vegas, but I mean, hey, it's
also
probably
Peyton Wilson was a third round pick, just to let you know.
it's a good bet. Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, that's right. I thought someone would take him in the second round. That's right. That was my thought. Anyway, um, defensive player of the year. Well, in my opinion, it should be the guy who should have won it last year, TJ Watt. Enough said.
Okay, let me move. I need to just stop letting you go first. What the hell? Yeah, I'm going with TJ Watt. I feel like he's getting help on the defense this time, so they're like especially with Patrick Queen, other guys are getting healthy. I feel like he's getting help where defenses can't just single in on him and just like double, triple, quadruple team him. Um,
He's the Aaron Donald of the edge rushers.
yeah. So with that, and hopefully a healthy year. Past years, he's been dealing with some injuries, but with a fully healthy year, I could see him getting DPOY. So we both agree there.
There we go. All right. Well, comeback player of the year. This was probably alluded to in my pick of the Jets, and me being high on them this year. Um, Aaron Rodgers is likely to be comeback player of the year because, like we discussed before, he played 4 snaps last year, didn't even get to throw a pass, um, and then he got hurt. I think with that loaded Jets roster, he should definitely be comeback player of the year if he can even play 75% of his normal form. Um, I mean, I think they're a playoff team in the making. They just need consistent quarterback play, and again, if he stays healthy, they'll definitely get that. But I hope it's Justin Jefferson or Nick Chubb, just because they hardly give it to non-quarterback players. And obviously for Justin Jefferson to do it, that means he pops off this year. But also, I just love Nick Chubb. He's just an easy guy to root for. And, I just hope that he can really bounce back this year as well. But my prediction is Aaron Rodgers.
I would get mad with the whole Nick Chubb because that's originally where I was thinking of going. But sadly, with the day that he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks, and they're going to the Browns have reported that they're going to be bringing him in slower than probably most expected or
Yeah.
than some would have hoped. I feel like it's just going to be difficult. Um, I'm going with Joe Burrow. He only played a couple games. Even then, he was still injured to start the year, and it was only right when he had gotten healthy again that he went back down. Um, I feel like he's going to have an improved year. They have an easier schedule, which shouldn't make it easier, but I feel like it will just because they'll have a much improved record this year than they did last year, and that's going to help with it. I could also see there's a ton of players because there was a lot of key players getting hurt last year. Aaron Rodgers, Nick Chubb, Justin Jefferson. Um, Kirk Cousins could potentially, if the Falcons are really good this year. Um, Good amount of
I was
players that
I
could
was between
contribute.
Burrow and Rodgers, so that's cool. All right. This is by no means a shot against this player because I believe he's great. It's because of how the team is going to be. I believe Justin Herbert is going to be the most disappointing player of the year simply because Harbaugh is a run first offense. And because of that, and the fact that they gave away four receivers and two of those being their best receivers, um, I think that Justin Herbert is going to struggle as a result of all those things. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he gets traded midseason. But
Really?
because of that, well, I mean, for a QB needy team who's desperate and has a ton of money, I mean, you could see it. But I mean, more likely at the end of the season, if anything. But I think that if we'll just assume staying on the Chargers because that's what we assume for these picks. If he stays on the Chargers, I believe he'll be the most disappointing because, like I said, run first offense and his weapons are not there anymore except for Palmer. So, but now all the double coverage is going to go to him, and I think that you know who else is going to step up? Quentin Johnston dropped everything last year, so can he
Yeah, I thought
step
he
up?
was going to be a lot better coming out of TCU than he ended up being last year, which one, he was already down in the depth chart, but he also had issues catching. So,
Yep. Who's
well,
yours?
as I said with comeback player of the year, I could see it being Rodgers. I also see it could be the most disappointing player of the year.
Hmm.
Reason why I say that is when Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets last year, it was they're going to the Super Bowl. It's not a question. It Mahomes versus Rodgers, AFC Championship, blah 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 blah.
I do
You only
want that to happen.
saw 4 plays of Rodgers last year, and he only got one pass off, and that was an incompletion.
Oh, that's right. He did. He did throw an incompletion. I forgot. I thought he didn't even throw a pass. Huh.
So the question is, after a whole nother year on his body, which yeah, he didn't play, but that was rehabbing that he wasn't sitting on the couch for a full year doing nothing. Um,
He was ready to go in December. Team just wasn't good enough.
no, I think that was a lie. I think that was just a media thing. Um, I'll be honest with that.
Yeah, it was a
But
joke.
I just see where it could just be it's his body. It's kind of like the Peyton Manning effect, where once it's done, it's just done. We saw it with Philip Rivers and Drew Brees as well. We've seen it with tons of players. Tom Brady in his final year, I think we're seeing it with Russell Wilson. Um, I think it's just one of those things where this might be the year we finally see the decline. And because we didn't get last year to see it progress into it, it's going to be a lot more of a free fall if he does decline um, compared to 2 years ago. And it's going to be a shock to a lot of Jets fans. And I feel like that could be from where the expectations are now to where they are at the end of the season, that's why I'm going with him as the most disappointing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be more accurate if they were expecting Super Bowl like they were last year, but I don't think that's the case anymore. But I mean, hey, we'll see. Um, again, not a bad pick. So he is aging out. All right. Most improved team. I probably alluded to this earlier. Colts, if Richardson stays healthy. Because honestly, they would have been good last year if he stayed healthy.
That's a fair point. I think I'm going to go with the Bears just because one, they haven't been in the playoffs for how many years, and with Caleb Williams, this might be finally what they needed to get there, and then also the other additions they've had. So from being in a top 10 pick to being in the playoffs, I have them as the most improved.
There you go. All right, in this next one, we are going to say in a 3-2-1 setting because I think we both agree on this. The number one pick of the 2025 draft goes to 3-2-1, the Patriots.
Patriots. Yep.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's not even really a conversation. The whole team's just bad. They lost a lot of key pieces. Their wide receiving core is crap, except for Polk, which I think was their second round pick. There's just nothing there to really have them be competitive this year. Even the Giants have the defensive line as a star unit where there's some hope there. The only thing they have is Drake May, which they don't even know if they want to play right now because of how bad the O line is. Tyler?
Yeah. Um, all the reasons we've said in the AFC video, um, they don't have a lot of weapons. I don't believe in their wide receiver room. Sorry, KJ. We miss you, but hopefully you'll get more targets over there. But they just don't have it. Their defense is not as good as it used to be. Their offensive line is terrible, and Drake May's not ready, in my opinion. So on to better years. All right, my most collapsed team. Honestly, I've juggled with this a bit. I even had some new ideas coming into this video, but I'm gonna stick with what I picked a little bit ago. I'm gonna say the Jaguars because I've kind of been on that trend for a little bit, and Matt seems to be high on them, so I'm just gonna go the opposite way, purely just for to breed chaos. Um, Jaguars went 9-8 last year, so that is a winning record. And I don't know why. I just see the rest of that division got tougher. Their schedule is tough, and I just don't see them pulling out those wins, especially when they're so famous for giving up leads. I I don't know. I just don't see it for them this year.
It
But I
doesn't
could
really
also
match what I
argue for the
predicted
Cowboys.
for. It doesn't really match what I predicted for the NFC, but I'm honestly going with the Cowboys from going from
There was my second
being
pick. Nice.
the top two in the NFC, top three. I think it was top two in the NFC, plus being the division winner. With how much they lost and how they didn't get anything to replace what they lost, I feel like this could be a team where we see them go into free fall. Um, I feel like there's just so much there that's missing. Um, but yeah,
Yep, that was that. Like I said, that was going to be my second choice, but I have to dive deep into this Jaguars hate, apparently. All right. Um, well, here's my thought for MVP. I'll let me know what you think, Matt. Mahomes won it in 2022, and Lamar wins it last year. So Mahomes is going to win it this year. He just didn't want to win it twice in a row because
yeah.
who wants to do that?
I
But
don't
I
really
mean,
have anybody else in my mind that could win it this year. So
he's the king until someone takes his crown. I mean, that's literally what it is. Someone has to keep him out of the playoffs, or someone has to take him out in the playoffs. And it just hasn't happened yet.
and we both have the Lions as our first place in the NFC, and we both know that Jared Goff's not going to win MVP. So yeah,
Most likely not. Yeah. All right. I think we can. Well, you know what? I think we can do this as well. I just want to see if we say the same teams.
hold on. Okay,
3, 2. Well, wait. First of all, say the AFC team first.
okay.
3, 2, 1. Chiefs
Ravens,
and Lions.
Lions.
Okay. Well, we agreed on the Lions part.
Yeah,
But yeah, again, like I said before, the Chiefs are gonna keep making the Super Bowl until someone stops them, and I don't see anybody doing that this year. Um, and again, like maybe if Mahomes gets injured, then somebody else gets in there, but never wish injury on anybody. And I think that with that healthy roster, they're gonna continue making noise in the playoffs and doing well.
yeah. And that is it.
Cool. All right. Well, this has been a lot of recording this week, so we apologize if we have sounded a little bit tired. It's been a lot of work to put everything together and to get all of our ideas out quickly when we have so much more we want to say. Um, so we just appreciate you guys hanging with us, and we'll get back to the regularly scheduled preseason or sorry, not preseason, weekly reactions and predictions. Um, and we are aiming to make those shorter this year. Stay tuned for if we keep our promise, but we do have some ideas on how we are going to shorten them up and mainly focus on the Vikings and Seahawks while quickly summing up everybody else. So stay tuned for all that. And that is all I have to say.
Peace.